voice, and today it's the pioneer of rules changes everywhere in poker. It is the Matt Savage Show. Good morning, Matt, or good evening.
Yeah, exactly. It's great being on different parts of the world and making it work out. So this is good.
Yeah, it's amazing what technology can do today. I've loaded up. I've got the sugar-free Red Bull. I've got
All right.
Diet Pepsi. And if all else fails, I'll have to put the matches into my eyes as well, just to
All right.
stay awake. How is life under these unprecedented circumstances?
Life's okay. I mean, I'm staying at home. I've got my wife here and my son, and so the family life is going well, which is good because in these uncertain times, you just never know. How you're gonna deal with it being cooped up for months at a time. And luckily, we have a good marriage, so it's working out well.
Yeah, it's. I think a lot of people can have those sort of breaking points. They've got a little ongoing joke here in Scotland anyway that when lockdown or quarantine or whatever you want to call it does end, there's going to be a lot of things. There's going to be a lot of kids about to be born, and there'll also be the highest rate of divorces ever. So
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be
kinda
one or the
flip
other.
side.
That's for sure.
But yeah, I mean, you're based in Vegas, so I mean, is it? Well, I don't know what it's like there at the moment for like sort of lockdown rules and stuff. Is it just you allowed to go
It's
out and stuff?
first of all, it's hot. It's getting to be what we call about 110 degrees, or I guess that would be like 35 for you. It's getting warmer, but right now they've kind of gone back to masks. So we're wearing masks outside starting today. You must wear them when you go into any business, and of course, the people that work in the business have to wear them as well. So I think that's important. I think it's one of those things. It's a step that I think we should be taking for everybody to be safe, not only for yourself but for others. And I think it's one of those things that I fully support.
Sure. I mean, do you guys have the social distancing rule there?
Yeah,
You do.
also social distancing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, it's a bit, as you say, it's like unprecedented times. It's something I thought I would never see in my lifetime. There's a few things I thought that, growing up, you're like, this will never happen. War, this, sports teams winning certain events, and it makes you open your eyes and appreciate a lot more. I think we discussed yesterday. This isn't for our sort of world. You'd be on the road 70% of the year, sort of thing, and now you've got to kind of make do with what you've got, sort of, and it's hard. It's a struggle, mentally, physically. You've got to try and keep awake, stay aware, and stuff. But hopefully, we get through at the other end, and we can kind of appreciate what we've got when this isn't happening. So.
Yeah, I think that people like me and you, are out on the road all the time. It's just a huge change, and we miss it. We like working outside, and we like being around people. So I think that makes it tougher. And of course, I have to consider and think about all the people that I work with throughout the year, and worry about them getting jobs and having their life impacted as well. So it's a tough one. You just don't know. So many people out there you want to help and try and be a part of it, but you're also suffering yourself. So it makes it tough. But we're trying to do what we can and stay in touch with those people that I work with, and hope that they're doing okay. And first of all, not getting sick, and then second of all, that they'll be able to come out of this on the other side stronger than we are today.
Yeah, we keep our fingers crossed, and just let's hope that we can come to terms with it, conquer it, move on, and get back to the daily grind, as it were. Getting back
Yeah.
to long shifts and happy faces, and Anyway, we'll kick on with this, Matt. Born San Jose, California, another hot city, country. Obviously, America. I mean, I think there's about 99% of the time it's hot. Ken and Susan, mother and father, Karen and Kathy, your sisters. What was it like growing up in San Jose for viewers that don't know?
It was great. I didn't really, I didn't do excel in school as much as I probably should have. I didn't really give as much attention to it, but I enjoyed my time in school. Around 12 years old, I discovered bowling, so I was actually a bowler from a lot of my youth. And when I finally figured out I couldn't make any money doing that, that's kind of when I got into other things like collecting cards and baseball cards and football and all of that. And then out of that, I kind of became a service technician for an alarm company, which I really don't know anything about alarms or electric devices. So had to get out of that. That was around the same time that I started playing poker, and so I saw that the people that were working in the industry were making more money than I was making doing what I was doing. So I kind of jumped in on the bottom floor and started selling chips at the local casino in San Jose.
Ah, so that you were a very early age to start doing that, or was it legal? I don't know what the, because I know
Yeah,
that in
I mean,
certain states it's
I
different.
was 21. You had to be over 21, so I believe I was 22 years old at the time, and yeah, so I just basically got in at the early stages of having Hold'em in the state of California, and even back then they were just playing low ball, so it wasn't even full on no limit Hold'em, or even uh, as you see today. There was more limit Hold'em and low ball games than anything else.
Was there anything that got you into poker? Like we've had a few guests that from an early age, their mother and father, or like family gatherings, they would have like, I don't know, you would call it dime poker. Like everybody would gather around the table, you'd have like any sort of variation of poker. Was there anything that your family not implemented, but you kind of took from that and you took an interest? Like maybe your mum or your dad was into that sort of thing, or a cousin somewhere, and then you kind of actually, I'm interested in this. Was there anything that kind of pushed you in that direction, or was it just
Well, we always had the
yourself?
poker table. We always had the poker table at home, and during holidays, the family would come over, and we'd play nickels and dime poker, and it was always a good time to do that. But I think I really discovered my passion for it when I started playing poker, at the young age at the casino, when I was able to do that, and so I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being with people, and the reason I ended up getting the job is because I was bad at poker. So I still say today it was the right choice.
We can relate a lot to that. I used to play a bit myself, and then I found out that working in the job was the only way I could guarantee taking home money at a poker event. And it was like,
Right.
so yeah, it's good because you meet new people, you meet different people from all aspects and all parts of the globe, and it kind of it makes you work differently and react to different situations. I mean, you said yourself you started out selling chips, then you kind of moved on to the dealer, but you've been working from in poker terms, you've been working from a very early age. Um, Kind of your lifeblood is poker, Matt. If you were to cut you in half, they'd probably like the aces of spades and the ace of diamonds might fall out. But you started off as a dealer when it came to the in the poker room sort of thing. I mean, did you enjoy the dealing part of it?
I love dealing. I mean, it was one thing that I really had a passion for at the early stage of my career, and I would never even got into tournaments if I didn't develop carpal tunnel. So I was working, all of my shifts, overtime, and all of that. And next thing I noticed, I couldn't really open my hand the same anymore. So I really developed a carpal tunnel syndrome from that, and because of that, I had to go on the floor. Eventually, filled in for a tournament director, and then out of that, got invited to run the tournaments at a local casino in Northern California, and kind of took off from there.
Yeah, I feel you with the carpal tunnel syndrome. I had a thing called Kienbock's disease. It's a deterioration of the bone in the middle of the arm. I had to get the bone fused together. They had to remove particles. Apparently, it's 10,000 to one chance that you can get in. It's the only long shot I've ever won with.
Wow.
Not a good thing, but it's really like when it's cold outside. It's like people who have got arthritis. They know what the weather's like outside sometimes
Yeah.
because the bones start going. So I can feel your pain because sometimes you're sitting there at the table with the deck in the hand and you're just like da 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 da, and you're just trying to like think of a happy place, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's the things you do to get through it. I mean, I love the game. I've been doing it a long time, working in the industry a long time. I love it. I really do. The happiness, the traveling, the meeting new people, for me outweighs any sort of pain. Um, I learn every day's a school day, as I say. You learn everywhere you go, every person you meet, um, and it's the love for the game that keeps me driving on. I mean, you say yourself, you could have easily have just jacked it in, as it were, and done something a lot easier. But you wanted to stay in the game. You moved up to Flore, Northern California. Was it harder to adjust to the floor sort of thing compared to what you were doing with dealing at the table, or did you just take to it like a duck to water?
I think I took to it because I had just started running my own golf tournament, which I
Hmm.
have upcoming. It's my 25th annual golf tournament, and one of the guys that was working in the casino said, "Hey, this guy Matt runs a golf tournament. It's a great golf tournament. You should probably put him in the tournaments here." So I really enjoyed it. It gave me a chance to again meet new people, but also you know try to create new things. Like I got to create the structures and all of those things, the rules, and it kind of really caught on to me right away that this is something that I like doing, and being a tournament director could really be a profession, which at the time it really wasn't. It was kind of like a fill-in spot for a floorman and things like that. They really didn't have like the tournament director's job like it is today. It was more or less, just like a secondary job of a floorman.
Yeah, it's like different stages. Like we spoke to a couple, like Sean a couple of weeks ago. He works at WSOP. In Europe, with certain events, you have to make your way up, like dealer, dealer assistant, floor assistant, and go on so on and so forth. As you say there, when was it you kind of thought to yourself, "This ladder is going to be mine to climb. I'm going to reach it." I mean, I don't know what it was like growing up television wise poker. In the UK, we had late night poker. We had Jesse May on last week, and we spoke about that in the sort of late 1990s, early 2000s. We also had yourself on the WPT shows. I think it was is it Vince Van Patten was commentating, and yourself, you were obviously the voice there. That was the sort of TV we had back in the day. Every now and then we'd get little clips from the World Series of Poker. But was there anything growing up that you kind of seen on television? Say, actually, you know what? I want to. That's what I want to aspire to.
Not really. I mean,
No.
for me, it was more or less playing tournaments and seeing, how that went, and trying to make things better. I always, have the goal of, whatever you do, try to be the best at it. So to reach the top in your profession is always something that you aspire to. And, I've always aspired to that at a young age. I wanted to be the best bowler. I wanted to be the best, at cleaning up, the place at the bowling alley. I wanted to do the best I could at being a service technician when I would work for an alarm company, the baseball card shop, that type of thing. And so, when I got into this and I really liked it, I figured I wanted to try to do more. So that was always for me, my next stage is that I wanted to do more with the job than had ever been done before.
Yeah, like basically, as a dealer, I want to be dealt. I deal the way I want to be dealt to. You try and give the best job, the best because people pay that could be their last $5, €5, £5, or it could be like a drop in the ocean. But you try and give that level of service from the lowest buy-in to the highest buy-in because, as I said, $5 could be the equivalent of $500 to someone else. And if you're given that level of professionalism, excuse me, as you say, then I don't think you can go wrong. You got to adjust to different people, different backgrounds. But if you're still given 110%, then I mean, all the way through the job, it should be not a breeze, but it always helps because you know yourself. You're given the top tier service, and going forward, it's should never be a problem. I
Right. And
mean,
I've always felt that. I've always felt in this industry that you got to treat everybody the same, whether it's the 1-2 player or, the high roller or, the person that's cleaning the tables versus, the person that's your boss. I treat everybody the same. I think that I have a level of respect for all those people because I've done all of those jobs. I know
yeah,
what that's like to have those kind of jobs. So, I like to be friends with the people that I work with. And I think that I've been able to achieve that over my career as well.
yeah. I mean, I think that's a massive attribute to have because everybody's a cog in the machine, so to speak. If you didn't have the people, as you said, that cleaned the tables, then somebody's got to do it. If you didn't have the dealers, if you didn't have the chip runners, the floors, the person that takes registration, you wouldn't have the tournament structure that you need to like bring the best service, as you say. Everybody fits into the role perfectly, and going forward, it's great. I mean, you've worked at some of the best and still continue some of the most eye-opening venues. We've got the Area, the Hard Rock, the Commerce, Bay 101, WSOP, WPT. I mean, rattling off these, it's like it would be normally like a who's who. It's not. It's the Matt Savage CV. It's unreal. Some of the stats we have here. I mean, we have. I've read up on it. It's an actual record. You have more than 400 televised episodes as being a TD,
Yeah, I
poker
think it's
wise.
closer, probably closer to 500 now. But yeah, I mean, I used to do. I mean, it seemed like I was doing a show a week for a long, long time. You know, from Mansion Poker Dome to the Ultimate Poker Challenge
Yeah,
to all the shows on Fox that we used to do. You know, the heads up events, the WPTs, the WSOPs, and to be really in there on the ground floor when televised poker really started was a big boon for my career. I think that it made a big difference, to
excuse
see
me.
it from the beginning, basically, before the boom, through the
Yeah.
boom to where we're at today.
Well, I mean, famously, you were part of the poker boom, the moneymaker effect, as it were. 2003, you were the main guy there when Chris beat Sammy Faha heads up. When a lot of people think that I think the defining hand, as it were, famously when Chris, I think he outdrew on the river Phil Ivey. I think it
Yeah.
was the Ace Queen versus nine hands, and a lot of people kind of put that there that was defining hand. That if he didn't win the hand, he might not have won the tournament. We might not have had this effect because I think the numbers between 2003 for the main event to 2004 when Greg Raymer won it, it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And you were a main part of that as the kind of main TD there, the main man. Do you think that that was the defining moment for going forward in the poker boom? That was one of the defining moments?
For sure. I mean, I think that Chris's impact on poker and the things that he's done have really made for a great, kind of like what I call the perfect storm. Right? We had televised poker, the whole cards, Chris Moneymaker, and online, and all those things together at the same time. They really hit, and I think that nobody would have really captured that as well as Chris Moneymaker did. And I think it's been told. His Hall of Fame career now has been told because of all the things that he's done, to make that happen. He not only did he win that tournament, anybody could win a
Yeah,
tournament, right? But he carried that momentum forward and was really a great ambassador for the game and has done so many things from every level,
yeah.
charity, and all of those things. And I'm happy to be a part. Was happy to be a part of it at the time. But yeah, definitely Chris Moneymaker made a huge impact on the game, as everybody knows today.
Yeah, and he had the name as well because with no disrespect to Joe Brand or John Smith, he had the moneymaker name was. I mean, if you're a brand, Poker Stars, WPT, you get this name, Chris Moneymaker, to win the World Series, the poker boom, online. He was like a mini satellite winner and went on to have the name Moneymaker. You're just like rubbing your hands together. This, where can we go with this? How far can we take this? And as you
Right.
say, I mean, I've met the guy before. He's a really nice chap. I didn't know he'd done half the stuff you said he'd done, but I
Yeah.
mean, phenomenal. And he's still, excuse me, his level of play today still plays at the highest level. He's took that. I mean, we're talking about 20 odd years on, to come up 20 odd years on. It was phenomenal. I mean, remember watching, as I said, you officiated it, as it were. I remember his dad being there. His dad was shaking everybody's hand that he eliminated and stuff like that. It made for brilliant television. It was like the little guy. We all want this
Yeah.
little guy against the pros. You had Sammy with the fake cigarette. You had Chris. As I said, it was like the David versus Goliath, and it was brilliant. It was so good for the game to the nickel and dime person that we were saying the games that it showed that this can be done. It doesn't matter if you've got loads of money or little money. You can qualify for 20 cents for a dollar to the biggest game, and you can become part of the moneymaker effect. It was phenomenal. And I mean, being a part of it, you must be, as you say, privileged. But
Yeah,
TV
I
folklore,
mean,
poker folklore.
for definitely for being there and calling those hands and looking back on it, as we've done, over the years and seeing, some of the things that happened at that table. Like, I can tell you the one thing, what they call the bluff of the century. And I've talked about this on other podcasts and things. And, you see the hand, and if you watch it back even today, I was involved in the hand and the fact that I was calling it. And I said that Moneymaker calls when in fact he raised. And he kind of looked at me and said, I raise, I raise. And I always say that I could have actually messed up history if, his voice inflection had made some difference, for Moneymaker to win that hand. So I'm glad it didn't. And I'm glad that Chris ended up winning and has done so much with the poker and with the game that he's done to this point. So I really think that we were lucky to have that at the perfect time.
Sure. I mean, for people that, I mean, a lot of people obviously know who you are. When you're calling the cards, they're doing the job you are. For instance, when Chris was playing Sammy heads up in that sort of final table, you're calling the cards, you're calling the action. If the dealer was to call floor, is it yourself that would then make the ruling there, or is there a separate?
Yeah, and I would actually make the ruling. I wouldn't even need to call the floor because I'm standing at the table. So I would watching all the action, and this has happened multiple times over my career. I end up making the decision. The dealer kind of looks at me, and then I kind of give the ruling on the table at that time. So yeah, it's definitely happened from time to time.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, so we had 2003, then we moved forward to 2004. It was like another sort of a big defining moment. You had Greg Raymer, you had the fossil man, as it were. He had the dinosaur fossil. We had the glasses. He played with David Williams, heads up. Another epic encounter because, as we said, from the numbers between Chris's winning it and Greg winning it, it was like they had just boomed, as it were. As we said, the poker boom. 2004, massive year personally for yourself. You got engaged, you got married, you proposed.
Yeah, I got engaged and ended up getting married the same year. I ended up proposing to my wife, Marianne, at the final table of the World Series of Poker. And Norm and Lon actually did a little bit about it. And there's a video out there online that says, basically they gave the odds of me doing it right and all these things. They took me through the hand, and it was actually really funny what they did. And yeah, I really appreciated that. But it was like on a break at the final table that ended up proposing and her accepting, and my parents were both there. So it's a time that I'll never forget for sure. And so, special memories from that, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, bro, I mean, you guys have been married for 16 years now.
16 years. That's
16
correct.
happy years. You have kids, Marco and pronunciation, is it Rizan or Rian?
You got it pretty close the first time. Riza Ann, yeah.
Riza Ann. Apologize if you're watching,
Recently married. My young daughter is recently married. So
proud father, yeah?
Yes, I am very proud of her and my son Marco. That's for sure.
Perfect. Because we spoke, I mean, Marco, it's spelled the Greek. Was it the Greek way you said?
Yeah, with a K.
With the K.
Yes.
Yeah. And
the Italian spell it with a C, and we spell it with a K.
With a K, yeah. I mean, yes. And you have, is it one dog you have?
We have 2 dogs. We have our little dog Bella and Max, and a little Chihuahua and a Terrier, Yorkie. So we, they keep us busy, and it's good to have them around during the quarantine time because they keep us busy chasing them around and cleaning up after them. So
yeah, we have a little Yorkie, as you say, Yorkshire Terrier called Teddy. We've had him. He's going to be 4 on Independence Day of all days.
Wow.
He's brilliant. I take him out every day, so he kind of keeps me sane. It's a case of, oh, come on, I can't believe you're making me do this. And then 10 minutes into the walk, you're like, yeah, thank you for making me do this sort of thing. So it's brilliant. I'm a big dog fan. I love all animals. It's a world with 4 legs is probably going to be a world better than 2 legs sort of thing. So, but I mean, you're a big sports fan as well. Big San Jose Sharks fan in the hockey world. Or is it the Vegas Golden Knights?
Well, it depends. No, I gotta say, I'm definitely a fan of both teams. I have season tickets to the Golden Knights and also the San Jose Sharks is a team that I've long suffered with for 27 years, and they've yet to win it all. But I'll be there when they do, and hopefully, it can be the Vegas Golden Knights this year since the Sharks are already out of it. But you know, it's a big debate in our family. So my family is all transformed over to Golden Knights fans, and I'm still stuck in between. So
Stanley Cup's the main trophy
that is
in ice
correct.
hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the question a lot of people will ask is, if it was to come down to the final, I don't know because I don't know much about hockey. San Jose Sharks, Las Vegas Golden Knights. What end would you be sitting in?
Yeah. You got to say the San Jose Sharks. My wife's over there, so I can't really say it too loud. But yeah, definitely. That's without a doubt. That's without a doubt.
And
Long suffering, 27 years. So I've got to stick with them.
but you think the Golden Knights have got more of a chance than the Sharks long
Yeah,
term?
well, right now, if the playoffs resume, which they're supposed to, the Golden Knights are the top seed, and the San Jose Sharks are out of the playoffs. So
Okay.
yes,
And
yes,
there's also continuing with the sports. There's a very vicious rumor I've read online that you're a Dallas Cowboys and the NFL
that is
fan.
correct. I'm a
I'm
big
sorry
Dallas
to hear that.
Cowboys. 5 Super Bowl wins, but again, long suffering. But it's looking like a good year for them if, in fact, we get to play, and I believe that we will.
They've recently got rid of their coach. Is it?
Yes, they finally replaced Jason Garrett.
That was it, Jason Garrett. Couldn't remember
Yeah,
his name
so
because Dak's
yes,
the quarterback's Dak, the main
correct.
golden boy. Yeah,
Yep, yes, it is.
yeah. I follow. I love the game. I used to watch it as a kid. We used to have a thing called, well, we still do, Channel 4, and you used to get one game every week. But you know yourself, the time difference. So games here were starting at like 8 o'clock at night and finishing at 5 in the morning because of
Wow.
the
Yeah.
commentary and stuff. But now we have Sky Sports, so you're getting games at 6, games at 8, games at 9, and it goes all the way through the night. And it's
Beautiful.
I love the game. I love the game. A lot of people, stop, start. Like my partner Claire, she's like, I don't know how you can watch it. I was like, what do you mean? It's only a 1 hour game. Yeah. Well, why does it last 4 hours? You don't understand, okay?
Yes, it is. There's definitely a science to it, and I'm big into the fantasy sports as well. So
Yeah.
I like my fantasy football. It keeps you a lot more engaged in watching all of the games. So yeah, we really love that.
And getting back to the poker, 2001 I have here, you were one of the main founders and on the board of directors for the TDA, the Tournament Directors Association. The rules, is that right? Or am I getting that
That is
up?
correct. Yeah. So in 2001, I went to the World Series of Poker, and it was the first time I'd ever walked into the hallowed halls of Binion's Horseshoe, and went to the TD and said I'd like to try and get the rules standardized. Because I noticed that everywhere I went, the rules were different.
Yeah.
I kind of got laughed at and said, this has been tried before; it will never work. Well, luckily at the time, I knew Linda Johnson, Jan Fisher, and Dave Lamb. So Linda attached the first TDA meeting on the back end of the her World Poker Industry Conference, and so we had about 24 people from around the United States and one international person that came in, and it's grown today where we do a meeting every 2 years, a TDA summit, and it's 200 people, players, poker media, floormen, casino managers, TDs, and floor people that all convene and make these rules. And yeah, I'm very proud of it. I consider it my biggest achievement in the industry today, and I wouldn't definitely not be where I am today in my career if it wasn't for the TDA.
What I mean, you say because you went to different tournaments and every sort of different house rules, as it would be the easiest way to kind of say. I mean, over in the UK and Europe, we veer closer to the TDA because obviously every couple of years, as you say, you have the meetings and they kind of change it a little bit. Is there any rule there that you think, I'm glad we brought this in? It's a defining rule that we had to bring in. Like going to, when you said you met the people at the WSOP and you wanted to, like basically you were the pioneer for change, as it were. And it's a great thing because as a dealer, especially, and I know there's a lot of dealers in the same boat, there's nothing worse than you deal 5 tournaments and they're all the same rules, and you deal 6 and 7, and it's like it's completely different. I had a good few years now ago. I dealt a tournament, and famously Barney Boatman from the Hendon mob. I had to give a sort of ruling and then call the floor um, about this, and then weirdly enough, 4 days later, it was a completely different tournament. The same player. It was the same mistake that another player had made, and I had to do the opposite. And the player just Barney looked at me and he's like, "Can you call the floor, please?" I'm, yeah, of course. Can I ask you why? He goes, "Well, I think you know why." And obviously, I've got to be impartial here. I can't say, "Oh, that tournament." And it's stuff like that. I mean, it's no fault of the players, but I think it's like we've had the discussions before. The Queensberry rules in boxing. Everywhere you go, boxing, the same rules across the board. Poker should be like this, but even nowadays, you still get different house rules. Um, was there, as I said, was there any rule that you thought, actually, no, this is not breaking point, but I need to address this. We need to go forward. Was there any sort of big rule there that you thought this needs to be done?
Well, there's been a few over the years for sure, but I mean, even the last one, the big blind ante. I think that we've all appreciated. I know you as a dealer appreciate this rule. It it was the way it was done is different in a lot of different areas,
Yeah,
and some people did it on the button, some people did the ante first, some people do the big blind first, and so I thought it was really important that we get that instituted, that we got it off the button, and everybody was just doing a big blind ante, so the people knew what to expect when they went from venue to venue. So over time, I want to see that hand rule was a big one that we struggled with. When somebody, you know, makes a bet and then somebody calls and then they fold their hand. You have to show the hand, this type of things. And, we were very fortunate to get the EPT on board, with
yeah,
Neil Johnson. So we were using it there. And then Jack Effel with the World Series of Poker and, me with the World Poker Tour. So basically for the majority of all tournaments, we're using TDA rules. So I think that it's been very helpful for not only the people that are working these events, but also for the players to know what to expect. And that's always been the goal for us, is that we get things better for the players. And, I'm a very big player advocate. And so, I'm hopeful that, this will continue. And when we get back to live poker, we can just get right back into it. And, the rules are consistent and the floor people are backed up to speed of what they were doing. And I think we'll be heading in the right direction once again.
sure, yeah. I mean, yeah, everybody sort of singing from the same hymn sheets. It's a massive thing. It helps the little people. It helps the big people. If we're
Right.
all uh, looking in the same direction, it's always a great thing. Now, we have mentioned the World Series of Poker. Kind of dropping back a little bit, how did you get into the WSOP as a floor person?
So yeah, that was an interesting story because a lot of people don't know about the World Series of Poker, but it was almost went away in 2002. They were in a lot of there was a lot of inner struggle. The sister had taken over the World Series of Poker, Becky Binion, and they did not want to pay anybody. They didn't want to do anything. So the World Series almost went away in 2002. And I got asked by another Hall of Famer named Tom McAvoy to run the World Series of Poker. And so I went to a lot of people that I knew, including Linda Johnson, and said, "What do you think?" And she suggested that I do not run the World Series of Poker. I may not get paid. It may not be, a good thing. A lot of the players were disgruntled. The dealers were all disgruntled. They ended up walking out at the World Series of Poker before the main event, and I had to get them all back. But yeah, there was a lot of inner struggle. So, but I have always said, and I maintain today, that working that tournament was so good for my career that I would have done it for free.
Mhm.
And turns out I did end up getting paid, but not that much. But it's still, it is a career defining moment, and I'm very glad that I did, because out of that I met so many people, and made my contacts with the World Poker Tour, where I still am today. And so, yeah, I'm very happy that I did take that job. And of course, meeting my wife was just icing on the cake, because she was working at Binion's Horseshoe.
There you go. That's the most important. I like how you got that in there, Matt. Well done. Well played, sir. Well played. Um,
Yes.
do you have any like stories from the WSOP or the sort of Vegas surroundings that you can share? Any sort of funny quips or anything like that?
So many things happened. But in 2004, It was the first time we ever had day 1A and 1B. And, today that's commonplace, right? But
Yeah.
back in the day, those days, we all thought, and I got in arguments with them saying, no, we can do it in one day. Well, we only had 81 tables. Uh, and so we had to do a day 1A and 1B. We knew it was going to be bigger. We didn't expect it to be 2,400 players, but we were upstairs in this room that held about 40 tables. And
Mm-hmm.
then we had the tables downstairs and tables strewn throughout the casino, throughout the pit, from one end of Binion's to the other, which is not like a mega resort. It's a very small casino. I don't know that you've ever been there, but it's incredible that it's so small. If you ever get a chance to come to Vegas and go check it out, you won't believe it. But we had 81 tables. They were 7-card stud tables that were, much, much smaller. We had 11 people at some tables, which today would be like blasphemy, right? You would have a total revolt. But it was so important to me that we got everybody into the tournament that we had people from end of the casino to the other end and up against the glass in the way, way back out by Fremont Street was Johnny Chan. And Johnny Chan, they were knocking on the glass, an inch behind his seat, looking at his cards and things like this. And, we were doing everything we could to make sure that the tournament went off without a hitch, and it did. And, we got almost shut down by the fire department because we had tables, too close to the street. And, it was a big disaster, but we ended up making it work out. And as you know, it turned out great, with 2,438 players in that year. And it was an amazing sight. So we knew at that point that the World Series of Poker had outgrown Binion's Horseshoe. And, as you know, it moved to the Rio the following year.
Yeah, it's I bet that these are the things you do, because I mean, I think obviously, yeah, blasphemy now with 11 players at the table, but back then, if you didn't have 11 players at the table, some people might not have got in.
Right,
So
and
you
they
kind of
did
try.
that years later. They had an event, the main event, where they ended up shutting out players, and it was I think that was a worse decision.
Yeah.
I'd rather get everybody into the tournament. Obviously, 11-handed, you try and get out of that as soon as possible, which
Yes.
we did. And it's one of those things that you just try and do your best you can to try and accommodate everybody. And in the end, we're glad we did.
Yeah, of course. I mean, at this moment in time, you're the main guy, WPT, Club WPT, the presenter. You've taken the double. I mean, I've looked here. You took the first ever WPT national to the Philippines. Massive turnout. Was this solely your doing? Were you an advocate for going forward and taking it to the, as it were, little unknown places, or?
No, I mean, I would say that's probably the doing of the WPT, but I've always been a huge advocate for making the game global. I did run the first tournament ever in Macau.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, I ran the first tournament in Monte Carlo years ago. And so, I've been with the World Poker Tour since season 1, where we did run that first event up the casino I was working at in Lucky Chances, in probably the smallest venue a tournament's ever been played in. But yeah, I mean, what we do on the World Poker Tour is we want to bring it to the world. We're in, basically all the continents right now, except for Antarctica. So we're trying to make sure that the game stays global, and we have a huge European presence, as you know. And we're in India and China, Japan, and South America, of course, North America, Canada, and doing everything we can to, grow this game globally, because I think in the end, that's the biggest impact we're going to have, is that we can run the game globally, because, it's not just an American game. It's not just a European game. It is a global game. And I think we're seeing it today, as we get back out of the coronavirus thing, that will be going right back to all over the country, all over the world. And it's going to be bigger and bigger. I'm just excited about the future of the World Poker Tour. Yeah.
We keep our fingers crossed. Yeah,
Yes.
it's open the doors. But yeah, I mean, you're a player yourself, big mixed games player. Do you think that helps with the job? Being on, like, when you're dealing with separate and individual situations, rulings and stuff like that, because you're a player yourself with quite a good record. which we'll come to in a minute. But do you feel that helps when you're dealing with certain issues, certain sort of situations?
Definitely. I mean, the LA Poker Classic, which I work at the Commerce Casino, is 68 events over 7 weeks. And, I like to put in all the mixed games because I feel like there's a certain set of people that like all those games. I really think that if you're going to be considering yourself the best player in the world, you need to play more than just No Limit. I do not feel, and this is an argument I've had before, that the best players in the world are not the No Limit players. I feel like it's the people that play all the games are the best
Yeah.
players. And I've got the support of a few people on that, like Daniel Negreanu, but Phil Hellmuth may be a guy that's won most of his events in No Limit, so he may disagree with me. But I think that you do need to play all. The championship event, the $50,000 event, is a mixed game. So I do feel like it's important. It's the games that I like to play. It's the games that I was raised playing. So I
Mhm.
feel like it's one of those things that I think should be uh, expanded upon. I really believe that more people should play those games, and I would love to see it. So I do my best when I'm running events and setting up schedules to make sure that we have mixed games in those tournaments and series. And I think it provides some variety for people to play those games as well. So I would love to see it expand, and I think that it will in the future.
Yeah, I mean, for people who, I mean, a lot of younger players, um, growing up nowadays, all they see is kind of Texas, no limit Texas, I may add as well, and to some extent PLO, Portland Omaha. What I mean, is there any advice you'd give these players? So, as you say, like to open up the games, like open up their mind to exploring different games.
I think if you're going to play some of these series, I think you just get in the ear of the tournament director or the organizers and say, look, put a horse tournament in there, or put something else in there, because you'll see that the people that play in those games, it seems like it's more fun to play with them, and it's a little more relaxed atmosphere than a
Yeah,
no limit tournament. And for what it's worth, you could play a little longer in those events.
yeah,
You don't have to worry about going out on the first hand. So I think that the people that play those games play it more recreationally. So I think that these guys that are so smart at poker and so smart at the game would excel in those games relatively easy. So I would love to see them playing more. And you see it during the summer where people play those games where they're not very proficient in it, and it makes it better for people like me that play those games all the
yeah,
time. So I think it's one of those things that is important for the growth of the game, and I hope it does happen at some point.
sure. I mean, even if anybody is actually watching and want, I mean, go online. You can get free rolls and stuff. Seven Card Stud, Baduse, Badese, all these games are online. Rules are online. And now, what I will say is, I know from social media that you're a very welcoming presence. If anybody's got questions, rulings, or anything like that, be nice. This man here, I know that you try and help or answer or be as welcoming as you can to a lot of people
Yeah,
online.
I did, with my Twitter account at Savage Poker, I answer everybody's question. There's nobody's question that goes unanswered
Yeah.
about any tournament ruling that they might have, and it's spilled over into live cash game rulings, which are more house rules. But I try and help everybody because
Mhm.
I feel like it's really important to get new people into the game that don't understand. And I really, sometimes take offense because people laugh at these people or criticize them for not knowing a simple rule, but you have to teach these people for the first time. And if you don't,
Yes.
and if you don't give them the same kind of respect you would expect, then it's not going to go over as well. So I'm willing to help everybody. I try and help everybody. I give more free advice than just about. I mean, it has to be more than anybody. My wife hates it. People call me all the time. They want advice on setting up tournaments, organizing tournaments, structures, payouts, all these things. And with the World Poker Tour, they've been really good with me about making sure that they know that it's vital for me in my career to try and help everybody. So I think that they've done this and they've given me that opportunity as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people like yourself who are willing to help, it's the short term, like little answers, and long term gain, because people without sounding cheeky, people need to be educated sometimes. They need to know what the rules are. They need to be able to, more to the point, they need to have someone like yourself who's very welcoming, very open arms. You know what? Ask me. Don't be afraid to ask. I mean, there's never a silly question. It's only a silly question if you don't ask it. And then 10 minutes down the line, you need to ask it. But you're stuck in a situation where you don't want to be like, Christ, I actually wish I'd asked that sort of thing. So, I mean, brilliant. It's a great attitude to have, Matt. Kudos for that. It's brilliant. Going back to the live sort of play, I've looked at your Hendon Mob. 2009 was a very good year. First in the, I mean, we go out saying about mixed games. First in a PLO high-low game in the Deep Stack event. Fifth in a horse event. 60th in a high-low PLO, I think it was, in the WSOP. Then fifth in a 7-card stud high-low. I mean, for somebody who works in the game to have a record like that, just for that year. I mean, there is other years, other results, but it's great. I mean, do you get to play much?
I don't get to play much. I do enjoy my time playing during the summer. I, play about 4 or 5 events a year, and I seem to do quite well. I've got a very good, average of cashing, which, a lot of people would be happy with. But at the same time, I don't play that much. I'm not a good no limit Texas Hold'em player. Unfortunately, I've played the main event 5 times now. I made a day 3 and a day 4. Didn't cash in either of those. So it's been a rough road in the no limit, but I do quite well in charity events where they're really turbo-y. So I'm happy to take my record in the charity events up against anybody.
Brilliant. I mean, and also you were the inaugural inductee of the Poker Room Manager Hall of Fame back in 2003.
Yes, now defunct, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was going to move on to the next bit. You've had numerous nominations for the actual Poker Hall of Fame.
Yes.
I know it's very player orientated, which more controversially, I don't really agree with. I think there should be more workers, as it were, whether it's dealers, whether it's floor staff, TDs, etc., etc. I think there should be more of that side of the game.
Yeah, they call the builders category is what they're calling.
There you go.
Yeah.
I personally think there should, because without us, there is no games, there is no structure, there is no rulings. I mean, yourself, I think I mean, I've seen a lot of comments, a lot of positive stuff that you should have been in there a long time ago. How does it work? Is it like an open voting, or is it do they get like the sort of TDA? Do they get like a judge and panel, or?
Yeah, so for years it was the public nominated certain people, and then it came down to the final 10, and I was nominated 5 times now, but 4 years in a row I made the top 10. Didn't get in any of those years, and a lot of them, Daniel was nominated the same year, and Phil Ivey, and so all those people are going to get in. But now they've kind of taken it in-house at the World Series of Poker, and I've always felt that the Hall of Fame kind of belongs to the public, right? I mean, It's not really, shouldn't belong to any corporation. But yeah, I've kind of not gotten in there at this time, but I'm hopeful someday. I'd like to leave a legacy for people, and I feel like I've definitely helped this industry and done a lot for people, and I think that's why I did get nominated when it was a public vote. So it's important to me. I think that at some point I'd like to get in. I did just get into the Wpt Honors, which is something that the WPT does, and I'm very happy that it was a very good night. You can see I put that up in the background now. My whole family was there, and my WPT family was there, and it was a good time. I had all of the people that really have meant a lot to me with the World Poker Tour in the house that night. So it really made for a very good night, and it made for a very good experience for me. And I was truly honored to be a part of that. So it kind of made the Hall of Fame a little less important to me because of this. So I know that the people that I care about and the people who care about me were in that room that night. So it was a very touching night for me and my family.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, I think it's long overdue, Matt, to be honest with you. I'm not just saying that because we're talking here and now, but Yeah, I think it's long overdue for what you've done for the game, continue to do with the game, and probably will still continue until the day you hang up your boots, as it were. Yeah, phenomenal. Some of the strides you've done. I mean,
Thanks,
even
man.
to appear in the film Lucky You.
Oh, that's right. I got that too. See,
Yeah,
I got this.
there it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
had that
now
prepared, didn't we?
now showing on Amazon Prime. You can to rent or own.
Yes, I have watched it. There's a kind of split view. I mean, I don't know. Am I calling you Matt here, or am I calling you Gil Edwards?
Yeah, Gil Edwards. So,
I mean,
yeah,
it's a good cab, quite a big name cast. Eric Bana, who was the Hulk, Reese Witherspoon, Robert
yeah,
Duvall,
yeah.
Robert
Drew
Downey Jr.,
Barrymore.
Drew
Yeah,
Barry, oh, Drew Barrymore. Sorry,
Drew Barrymore.
there
Yeah.
she is. She's right behind you as well. um,
Yes.
a whole list of poker players. I actually think it was a decent watch.
Yeah.
It showed you a bit about the game as well, a bit about the thinking of the game, the structure of the game. I mean, how did you get approached by that, or was it because you worked for the company at the time, or?
No, I was approached to be an advisor
Mm.
because I was working at Binions during that time because they were trying to model it over after the 2003 World Series of Poker. But I kind of got called in as an advisor, and then a role came up as a satellite tournament director. So I said, well, I could do that, and so I auditioned for it and didn't get it because they already had somebody in mind for that. And then later on, the audition for the tournament director came up, so I went down and talked about it and had to like cast for it. And
Mhm.
in the end, they said nobody else could probably do it as because it's your job. And so I ended up doing it. Yeah, and spending 2 months in LA between LA and Vegas working on this film and post and editing and all that stuff. And I really got a real appreciation for all the actors and people out there that do this for a living because I'm telling you, it was intense work. And I think that all my time of the 15-hour days on the floor of working poker tournaments prepared me for it. But yeah,
Yeah,
I enjoyed that experience. It was definitely an experience I'll never forget working on that with an award-winning director and producer. And yeah, it was a great time in my life, and very happy I did it. And didn't really turn out as well as we'd hoped, but I think that the love story overtook the poker a little bit, and I
yeah.
think people didn't like them. I think people didn't appreciate it, but there are a lot of Lucky You fans out there. Let me tell you, and if you haven't seen it, go to Amazon Prime and watch it
Yes,
today.
watch it now. Download it, buy it today, rent it today. It is. I mean, I know what you're saying. But with everything, I mean, a lot of people say that Rounders is the best, or there's a few others. But I mean, I think you're always going to get the haters and you're always going to get the lovers, regardless of how the film is. I mean, there you go, Doyle and Robert there, because Doyle was the poker consultant. I know you were the poker tournament advisor. He was the poker consultant for the film. Um, in the film, obviously, you've got all these big names, these big superstars, as it were. Did you find the easy to work with these people because, as you say, it's your job on a daily basis. You're working with cameras, you've got the microphone, you've got that kind of spotlight in your face. Was it like another day on the job, or did you have to kind of step up your game a little bit?
It was really like another day on the job. The thing that ended up happening was that they ended up using my voice for a lot of the timing cues for the actors. So I would say something, boom, and then the actor would say something. Then I would say something, and then another actor would say
Yeah,
something. So I ended up being more of a role in the movie than I thought I was going to be, and ended up being in about 20 minutes of the movie, which was totally unexpected. But I think that yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that part of it because I could say, well, they wouldn't have done it like this, or they wouldn't have done it like that. And, one of the things that I had a big argument about was the way that the movie ended. The guy actually broke the rules, right, of
yes,
poker, and so I argued about that for weeks and didn't win that argument. They called it creative license, and it's the most common question I get about that movie. That's for sure.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to give anything away to people that haven't watched it. I mean, I'm not just saying this. Go watch it. It is good if you're a poker fan. I think you've got to watch it before you can be a critic to it. Now, there is, I'm not going to give much away, but there is one thing there. the main character that Eric Banner is doesn't put his cards to the whole camera,
Right.
and or the commentators they allude to this. Nowadays, am I right in saying that you have to sign the waiver form that says you have to? I
Yeah,
know
I
it was a
mean,
film, but
it was a big argument back in the days. In the early days, Eric Seidel to this day does not want to show his whole cards. He feels like it's a property of theirs because it's the many years of them, training and learning, and
yeah,
I'm doing all these things, and the information they shouldn't give away. And so, uh, I understood his point when he was saying that, but I really believe that if they didn't show their whole cards, poker wouldn't be today, as far advanced as it is today. And so, I think there's some give and take. Eric finally gave in and started showing his cards, and there were people out there, Helmut and Negreanu were two of them, that were arguing with Seidel and saying, "Come on, dummy, you gotta do this. You got to show your whole cards because if you don't, you're going to cost us all a lot of money."
yeah,
And Eric Seidel is no dummy. He's
yes,
wise, and he got it and figured it out. And to this day, I think that there are still some players out there that feel like they shouldn't, do this all the time. But at the other time, there's people that love being on the camera and love showing their cards too. So it's give and take. It's definitely some give and take.
because there is a bit in the movie with the character that Robert Duvall plays. He alludes to because it was supposed to be the first time they had the whole cam for the cards, and he alludes to the fact that, well, I've built my reputation, and now I'm having to show it, and it kind of does allude to the fact that, as you say, with Eric didn't want to show his cards. It kind of alludes to that as well. So it's kind of it is there is a lot of real life stuff in the film. For any poker enthusiasts, as I said, go watch it. It is an eye opener in some aspects. You've got a lot of the big players in it. I know Sami Faha appears in it quite a lot as himself. There is a couple of characters here that go by different names because they've got like a bigger role in it as well. Jennifer Harmon, John Hennigan are two of them.
John
Um,
Hennigan was great in the movie, by the way.
yeah,
John
yeah,
Hennigan
he
was
he did play. He
amazing.
played a role. I'm watching. I was like, oh my god, he looks
Yeah.
a right bugger. It's like
Yeah.
the character. I was like, what?
Yes, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's good because I mean, with the role as you have now in your job with the microphone and stuff like that, you could put it that you're playing an actor's role anyway in your day job. So this again should be a piece of pee, as it were, to
Yeah,
yourself.
sure.
Um, you know, so it's like you're playing the actor's role every day, and this is just duck to water sort of thing. Did you take anything from that going forward to dealing with big name players? Because I mean, I know a lot of like actors do play the game, or do you just treat them, you know, like any every average Joe that plays it, or do you have to kind of change the way you?
No, I mean, I love it. I love the fact that I treat everybody the same. And as I said, nobody's going to get any special rulings. And I've had arguments with players over the years because they feel like they should get some special treatment. And it's one of those things where I make the same ruling against
Yeah,
them as I would against anybody else. So it's happened from time to time where I've had to make a tough ruling against somebody that was famous, and they may or may not talk to me for a while, but I think it's the fairness of the game, and I've
yeah,
always been about that and integrity. So I really hope that they understand, and they do. They understand, and it's not always well received by them. I think at the same time I think that's why I have the respect of the players that I
yes,
have today. Also,
yeah. You've got to be impartial. I've got a lot of friends on the other side of the table, but they know and they respect it when I sit down when I'm dealing. I'm going to treat them the same as I'm going to treat the person in seat two, seat three, seat four. You can't. I mean, there's a saying. I think it'll be the same all over. There's no friends in poker, and really there shouldn't be at the table, as it were, because you've got to treat everybody the same. You can't be, oh, I'm going to be easier on you than I'm with them. You can't be. You've got to treat everyone, and yeah, I mean, as you say, you've got to be. If you knock somebody's nose out of place, it's got to be done because you can't bend the rules for them.
right?
Because then once you do it with one person, you've got to do it with the whole queue of people, and then that then opens up a whole different can of worms.
Yeah, and through the years, we've always been able to, get the rulings, make the decisions, have the tournament, and then at the end of the day, go to the bar and have a drink with these people too.
That's
It's been a really good road. I've met so many great people through poker, and so it's been, I'm excited that it's turned out the way it has for sure.
good. I mean, going forward, um, we'll get to the future of live poker in a minute, but what is your take on what is it like at the moment? Little card rooms, big card rooms, in the next foreseeable. Well, we'll say it now. What do you think is the future of live poker under the circumstances?
Well, right now they're opening up, so it's happening already. I mean, I've seen big card rooms that are partners of us on the World Poker Tour, like Best Bet and Seminole Hard Rock in Tampa and in Florida.
Hmm.
Thunder Valley is now open. Um, Choctaw opened up. People that are, you know, playing the game now and they're doing it five-handed, six-handed, seven-handed, eight-handed, nine-handed. Some using plexiglass. Some are using no plexiglass. Some are enforcing masks. Some are not enforcing masks. They're all doing a lot more things cleaning, which we probably should have done for
Yeah.
years before. I am a big proponent of masks. I don't love the plexiglass, but if it helps us get these rooms open and keep
Yes.
people safe, I'm all for it. So yeah, I do think that once we find a cure or get a vaccine for this, I think that we're going to be back to normal with no plexiglass and no, maybe mandatory masks. But at the same time, I don't. I'm not opposed to people doing those things because I believe that we probably should have been doing this all along. The cleaning of your
Yeah.
hands, the making sure you know how to cough, making sure you know how to sneeze, which people don't know how to do at as an adult, which seems amazing to me that people don't know how to not sneeze in their hand. uh, I think all those things have come to light now, and so we're going to be better about all these things. People will start washing their hands when they leave the bathroom now, which you know isn't always the case. But yeah, I think that we're going to learn a lot from this, and I think we're going to be better for it in the long run. I mean, obviously, with all of the people getting sick and dying, it's a terrible
Yeah.
tragedy. But at the same time, uh, I think that we need to be better, and I think we will be better as we come out of this.
Yeah, I mean, when things open, wherever you are watching, support your local card room because without these
Yeah,
local card rooms, you can't move on, you can't build a career, as it were. These are the bread and butter places that you need to support. Support them, stay safe, more importantly, but do support them. Be vigilant. Like wash your hands, as we say. You shouldn't have to have people telling you to wash your hands,
yeah,
But come on, common sense. Stay
yeah.
safe, be clean, but do support your local card room when they open up. Um, Going forward, what does the future hold for Matt Savage?
Well, right now I'm playing a lot of online poker and Club WPT because I'm doing the things that I need to do to keep our company afloat and
Yeah,
keep our company growing. Our Club WPT client, which is a subscription-based model, has grown a lot during this. We are a partner with Party Poker on a big $100 million guaranteed series upcoming this summer. We're doing a lot of things. We're partnering with local and other poker sites and trying to make the World Poker Tour still be global while we're
yes,
going through this. So I think some of that will stick around after we come back. I think that a lot of people have grown a penchant for playing online, and so I hope that this not only will bring some people back because I know there's a lot of people playing online right now that had stopped playing poker before
uh-huh.
because they're home and there's gives them something to do. And I know that people that like me and like you and like others miss the live aspect of the game. So I'm hoping that this will bring more people back to the game when we get back out there again. The World Poker Tour will survive. We will have some more events. We will run our televised final tables upcoming, and we have a strong connection with our television network, Fox Sports Net. So that type of thing is going on, and people like you and all of the people that work in this industry that are looking so forward to getting back to work are a big part of what we do. So I want to say thank you to you and others like you that are doing, your work to try and make it safe for everybody else and get back out there and play poker again. So once the cash games come back, then the tournaments will come back, and then the traveling tournaments will come back, and hopefully, in 2021 we're back up to full steam. That's what my goal is.
We keep our fingers crossed. We keep our eyes crossed. We keep everything crossed for the future of live poker. For me, anyway, bread and butter for the players. I know that. Matt, it has been an absolute pleasure. I'm not going to lie to you. Talking to someone of your standard, I know a lot of people look up to you, like myself, and a lot of people will find this interesting. As we have said before, I will put Matt's details in the bio for this. Fire him a question, follow him on Twitter. You've seen how easy it is to talk to this gentleman. Matt, next time I'm in Vegas and you're free, the drinks are on me, my friend. I do appreciate your time.
That's it. Thank you very much, Ross. I do appreciate your time.
Take care and love to the family.
All right. Thank you.